This session is to highlight news for the Rapido community, specifically the development highlights for the January 2026 release. As we get going, I'd first like to give a warm welcome to the newest members of the Rapido community. Congratulations to the many libraries that completed their implementation projects and went live in December 2025. Welcome to all of you to the Rapido community. The Rapido team is excited to be working with you. A few community resources to highlight today. The monthly release notes are our documentation that cover the main and additional features of each release, as well as address the resolved issues for each release. The roadmap is a means for the community to get a view of the upcoming developments to be delivered throughout the year. And the listserv is a wonderful way to connect with the great and generous minds of the community of library colleagues that are using Rapido. Getting into the January 2026 release highlights, the first items that I'd like to highlight are related to the staff user experience. This first item specifically is related to your configurations around the ability to temporarily disable lending for different formats. Previously, lenders could only select to be temporarily inactive in totality for all of their lending services. But we know that there are more nuances that arise that impact some of your lending services, but not others. For example, maybe there's a pause in shipping services due to a variety of reasons. Many years in resource sharing makes me think of an absence of the delivery pickup, perhaps a postal strike, issues with scales for in-house mailing services, and then of course, unbelievable but true stories that each and every one of you could present to explain why this might need to happen at your library. Maybe everything is humming along for physical shipments and you can supply physically as a lender, but maybe the scanner breaks or there's a scheduled absence of those who do the digitization work. Or I'm sure any of you could pose another scenario that you've experienced that would interrupt the library's ability to lend digitized content from the physical collections. Maybe everyone's on vacation and the library is closed while the teams all get a well-deserved holiday. So with that, the library is completely closed and not staffed. Then temporarily disabling lending for everything is the right option. Rapido configuration options support you to keep working as a dedicated lender when you can and take a pause when the situations arise that call for temporarily disabling from physical collections. Configuring temporarily inactive for lending for different formats, lenders can set to everything physical or digital from physical. So you have the options that support you so that you can continue to lend what you can lend and take a pause as needed, depending on what's going on at your library. The next development is also related to the staff user experience, and that is new fields being available within the lending requests and the borrowing requests as well. This new field is called the tracking number field, and you'll find it within the request attributes section. The value can be added via the edit action. The tracking number is sent via the ISO message in the request notes field. And for other libraries using Rapido, the value that is added to that tracking number field will populate within the request attributes section within their borrowing request. Another new field or a couple of new fields you will see in your requests are not within the request attributes section, but are within that request cost section. These new fields that you'll see within the request cost section are the VAT field as well as the total cost field. Likewise, of the new tracking field, these fields are sent to the borrowing partner via the ISO note and shows as a system note. And if the library is also a library using Rapido, they're extracted. These values are extracted from this communication and added to the borrowing side to populate these fields in their request cost section as well. The total cost field is as a calculated value that is only populated on the lending request after the shipped action has been performed, as the ship action is what runs the shipping cost rules that your library may have configured via configuration, fulfillment, resource sharing, shipping cost lender rules. The shipping cost rules run to automatically apply costs to requests if your library is assigning costs to requests. And then once those rules run, the various request costs that are added are summed, and the sum is added to this total cost field. Another development related to request costs is currency handling. Previously, when a request cost was added to a request, the currency that's displayed within the request cost was always the currency that is configured for the lending library, meaning the value that is configured via configuration, menu, acquisitions, general currency subset. Now, if your library sets the parameter rs underscore use underscore partner underscore currency, if your library takes that parameter and sets it to true, and today the default is false, if the request cost value is populated, meaning if your library assigns a request cost to a field, then the currency that will display is the currency of your partner that they have configured at their library. And the currency that is then communicated to your partner about that request is they're showing in that partner's currency. Our next development is related to the end user experience. So moving from the user experience of the staff of our libraries who are working with Rapido into our end users and their request experience with Rapido. This next highlight is specific to the NDE, meaning the libraries who are using the new discovery experience. If the library has enabled the NDE and is using a display logic rule with input parameters of hide service, they can also choose the option to hide the get it section when there is no Rapido offer. This option is available within configurations via configuration, resource sharing, request forms, hide Rapido options. And you see that checkbox there for NDE only, hide section when no Rapido offer is displayed because of display logic rules. So again, you have this checkbox, but it will only be enacted if you have the display logic rule also at play. This next visual is a screenshot of an example of this configuration applied, meaning they've removed the get it section when there is no offer available. So thank you for your time in looking at the January 2026 release highlights. This release is documented in the January 2026 release notes. If you have additional questions, let's connect. Thank you.